Hello again, and welcome back to another amazing interview on the Unstoppable Mumpreneur Telesummit, where you can discover the habits, strategies, and insider secrets to overcoming any obstacle and earn an income doing what you love. And we have another brilliant, truly brilliant expert here with us today to share just even more of the nuggets that we've so far been receiving from all the experts we've had the honor of listening to so far. Her name is Jane Warr, and I'll tell you a bit about Jane here. And Jane, you would, by the end of this interview, you would learn so much more about who she is, what she has to offer as well. So Jane, or Trainer Jane, as she's often known in the industry, began her career in nutrition coaching and fitness training, serving thousands of clients over the past 2 decades. Specializing in flexibility and Vitruvian training, hundreds have benefited from her correcting their imbalances, thereby taking away their physical pain. In addition to her fitness credentials, she became a certified lifestyle coach, specializing in self-care, communications and relationship, business and accountability, providing additional benefits to her clients, helping them to achieve their personal life goals. Now, as a trainer, she is a verbal Aikido communications coach, and I found that absolutely fascinating and Googled it some more when I read it. And the authorized business partner with the renowned James McNeil. She delivers his life-transforming experiential education program, which combines advanced communication skills, emotional intelligence, and the powerful non-adversarial philosophy of the Japanese martial art Aikido. Jane, welcome to the Unstoppable Mumpreneur Telesummit.
Oh, and thank you for having me, Cheryl.
Oh, it's an honor. It's an honor on my side, most definitely. So I just gave, a very thin sliver of who you are and what you're about. Can you tell us some more about yourself, Jane, starting with, your kids? You're a mom, and your bit about your journey to becoming a mompreneur, and what actually inspired you to start your own business.
Sure, thank you. And yes, I would absolutely happily speak about my children. They are my pride and joy.
Yes, great.
I am a very proud mom of adults at this point. My son already is 21 and living his dream by working in Silicon Valley as a computer engineer. And my daughter is 19 and living in the opposite direction, in Halifax now, Canada.
Okay.
So the kids are following their journeys. They're out of the home, but that of course does not end my role as a mother by any means.
No, I don't think it ever ends.
No, and so it's thrilling that there are so many different technologies that can help us keep in touch. So whether Skype or Facebook or any type of texting, that is the main way I communicate with my children, fortunately and unfortunately.
But thanks to technology, we have those choices now.
That's right. And they'll be home for the Christmas holidays, so I'm very excited about that. So
great.
So yeah, my background, well, quite frankly, I always said I was put on this planet to be a mom. I've said that my entire life. So I was a mom first. I remembered in high school not even wanting to pick a career choice. I wanted to be a wife and mother.
Okay.
As old-fashioned as that seemed even then.
It's okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was always entrepreneurial. I was mostly self-employed even back then, doing Avon, so selling cosmetics where I lived. And my journey continued when, of course, I did decide to go on after high school to college. I was studying to be an accountant at that time, and while looking for an accounting job, I came across a health and nutrition company and started that and fell in love with studying nutrition. I did that while raising my children, so doing the stay-at-home mom, work-from-home mom type of work, and absolutely loved that. Wanted it as part-time supplemental income by being mom first, but bringing in some income. And it was when they became older and were in school that I just decided, time to do a little more with myself. I had more time, I had more ambition, that's for sure. But because I wasn't quite yet clear as to what I maybe wanted to do forever or for my working years, I decided my next biggest passion that I wanted to follow was fitness. That's when I became a certified personal trainer, in which, like you mentioned in my bio, I specialize in something called Vitruvian training. So it's an assessment that I do to take away people's pain. So I've always largely followed what was important to me, as well as what I found there was a market for. You know, there definitely was a demand for people looking for fitness and nutrition coaches. So that is basically how the journey started. And then the transformation with the Trainer Jane business and the Trainer Jane brand changed over just the last 2 years, especially, again, as I was meeting the demands of the marketplace, as well as things kind of fell into my lap. So that's when I decided to become a certified coach with another organization, so that I could focus more on coaching versus training. And on top of that, that's when Verbal Aikido came into my life, with me being a participant of it. And it's because it transformed my personal and my business life so much so that when I was offered it as a business, then I decided absolutely and jumped straight in and became certified as a communications coach as well with Verbal Aikido.
Right. Fantastic journey there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, when you started out, your kids have known you as an entrepreneur, even starting with your days in Avon, and you're moving on to nutrition, the nutrition company, doing that on your own. What were some of the challenges that you sort of encountered in the early days of running your business, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think at the beginning, it was definitely a matter of, I was the main raiser of the children, in which case to have a designated office, to be able to lock myself in there and have designated off hours, the kids to know, turn to dad, or whomever else was there, to be the one that they went to. That made an absolutely big difference, because around that time was the beginning of, building websites and again, going back 20-something years. So it was a matter of, there was so much new to learn with technology, and so much time that I wanted to kind of separate myself from mom and businesswoman, and try to lock myself, like I said, in a room and be able to juggle both.
Right, so juggling both, and that's something that's come up a number of times actually throughout this interview. And what I have appreciated is that no expert who has spoken on this summit has made it sound or made it seem as if it's been a doddle, and sometimes we can get that message coming through in the industry, and I think it does the industry quite a disservice, that just become a mompreneur and life is a breeze, dream fulfilled, life is a breeze. And yes, there are wonderful aspects to life, there are wonderful rewards to that, but there's hard work and there are challenges, as there would always be.
That's right. The dedication and the amount of time needed, the amount of time just to learn. So, like I said, whether it's technology, whether it's sales, I find that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I help with now, whether it's the communications coaching or actually entrepreneurial business coaching that I also do, I find it's the lack of sales training that they've gone through. And therefore, it doesn't matter how passionate they are, if they're not confident in selling, if they're not experienced in selling, if they're not asking for the sale, if they're not closing sales, if they're not therefore bringing in funds, there's no cash flow to continue to build. Yes. Part of why businesses fail.
Yes. Was that one of your early challenges, Jane?
I think I'm a little fortunate in the way that I've always had the confidence. I've always had great people skills. Maybe I picked it up from my dad. I'll give him credit. I'm not sure, quite frankly, but I think that was not something that necessarily was difficult for me. But at the same time, like I said, the languaging skills certainly was something that I have worked on, or selling through email, for example, or ways over the internet, because it was still a matter of me wanting to market myself and wanting leads to come to me, so that then I could have the conversations knowing that the person is already a qualified lead, and then comfortably going through the sales process.
Right, so it was more marketing than sales early days.
Yeah, absolutely, in the beginning for sure.
Great. Lovely. Now, I am taking notes here, and I've been saying this throughout, just really encouraging our listeners to make sure you have your notepad and pen. I can't tell you how many times I've shown my notepad and pen throughout, because absolutely, they're you never know it all. And it's that's my position anyway.
Yes.
You never know it all, and you can always learn something new. And there's just there's just so much valuable information being given for absolutely free. It's not being sold. On this summit, I feel as if I'm doing all, you experts who have taken the time to be here with us a great disservice if I do not jot things down, because there's just so much to learn. So thank you for sharing them. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Great. So you said early days it would have been marketing for you that would have been more of a challenge, if anything. What would you say is a challenge that pops up for you now, even where you're more established and experienced in the business world? What comes up for you?
Well, I think the two things that come to mind, time management, which again, I think at any step in anybody's business, that could still be a challenge. For me now, in my neighborhood, which is kind of east of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, I am very well established. I am very well known. So, for example, this past Saturday, I was at a speaking engagement. I'm thrilled to be there. But the pre-event promotion and the post-event promotion, it's many hours of me contacting all the different leads, of putting out all the different thank yous, putting all the photos on social media. And I love all of it. I'm absolutely, not by any means. I could happily do it,
Yes.
Yet it's just very time consuming. That's not necessarily that day bringing in money or new business, but it's absolutely needed to be done. And I do know from experience that it does generate leads and new business in the future. So it's still one of the many things that needs to be done. So, I spoke on the Saturday and spent the entire Sunday on social media.
Right.
Post-event, and that was the weekend.
Yeah.
But hey, that's a great weekend. Now I'm being, so what a great Monday.
and sometimes the lines do get blurred, if we can call them that. And for periods, we do what we have to do. We do what it takes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, as an entrepreneur, especially if we're a solopreneur, which currently I am, working the majority of the business by myself. Therefore, there are so many different hats to wear.
Yes.
Having said that, I do have somebody that's, building my new website. I have somebody that helps me with PR and media. I have somebody that helps me with some of my email marketing. I do have a team around me, but the majority is still mine. And just even the managing, that would be part of the second part of what I find right now challenging for me is managing the team.
Yes,
That's still time consuming.
Great. Time management is one. What's the second one? Sorry, or did I miss it?
Well, I think to some degree it would still be in regards to cash flow. Because my business is growing so quickly, I kind of joke saying, as much as good is coming my way, more revenue is kind of needed to keep those balls rolling.
Right.
So it's a matter of cash flow is still an ongoing issue. I have no problem admitting that, right?
And it's a fluctuation. And we had one mom spoke to that in the summit. And like yourself, very established, very, very well known, does incredibly well. And I certainly respected and admired her honesty in that respect. that, you know, you do have moments where it's up and down, and you've just got to keep your eyes. I think that was Stephanie, O'Day. You just got to keep your eyes on your numbers.
Absolutely, because now I'm producing bigger events with more people in the room, in which case the venue needs to be bigger, a little fancier. I have staff there helping me. You know, again, the pre-promotion, post-promotion is so much bigger. Just booking the venue, the correct venue takes time, and then the venue has applied several times. So like I said, the costs go up exponentially with the revenue. So good problems for sure. Good problem.
Yes, it's a good problem. Yes, it is a good problem. No, thanks for sharing that. It's a very, very valuable piece. Now, having, you know, done what you do for as long as you have, you've worked with mompreneurs. I take it your business isn't just for mompreneurs. It's across the board, men and women, moms and non-moms. Having worked with mompreneurs, what would you say is the number one obstacle that we face in our businesses, and what advice would you give to help us overcome those obstacles?
Well, I think because of the lack of sales training, I find that most of the mompreneurs have had, therefore they have a lack of confidence going into sales, just specifically asking for the sale. And then that kind of combined with a lack of the confidence and ability to be assertive and kind of take charge in that conversation and know that there's a difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness, as well as being ethically influencing somebody into a sale and being salesy, right? Those are all very different. So again, it goes back to learning the differences between them and practicing them and getting good at them, and therefore having confidence moving forward. Because again, it all goes back to cash flow. If income is not coming in, or ongoing income is not coming in, the businesses can't grow and can't even sustain themselves.
That's right. That's exactly right. Great. So again, another question that's drawn, you know, a few different answers on the summit so far. Do you believe, Jane, that anyone or any mom can become a holistically successful mompreneur?
I absolutely believe that anyone can. Now, I will qualify that, though, like we started off in this conversation saying, it is so much work. It is so much work. So there still needs to be that dedication and commitment, that perseverance, and, you know, get out of bed and do what you need to do and get into action, regardless of if you want to or not that day. And of course, everybody's goals differ. So obviously some mompreneurs will be part-time or full-time, or you know, small, medium, large goals, whatever they decide those goals are. So how much commitment and how much time is different person to person.
That's right.
Like we said at the beginning, it's not easy. There's so much to do. There's so much to learn, especially if you want to excel, especially if you want to, you know, achieve those goals faster and then get into that snowball effect.
No, I think you've said what pretty much every mom on the summit has said in perhaps slightly different ways. And I mean, we've had some mompreneurs who said absolutely not. You know? And we've had others who said yes and no. And and we've said we've had also yes. But what is interesting is that there's always the but, you know, especially from the yeses. Yes, but you have to be prepared to really be dedicated, committed, persistent, you know, all those things. And I can attest to that. It's true. It's very true. You know,
it's easy just to even procrastinate, right? That's one of the biggest things that with Verbal Aikido that I coach on is how to realize that you're procrastinating. Take a minute or 5 minutes if you need to pause and think, what am I feeling? Why am I doing this or not doing what I should be doing at this moment? And am I ready to move forward? So I definitely, that's another category that I definitely coach on.
Fantastic. So again, another one that's come up and stirred in a bit of a, hornet's nest here as we talk about work-life balance. And we've been hearing a lot about and reading a lot about work-life balance over the years. And it is one of those terms that I have personally, it's just been a troublesome term for me, and that's not to influence anyone's opinion, and it certainly hasn't. Everyone's got, their own opinions on this panel about it, and that's fine. But which do you tend to veer more towards, work-life balance or blend?
I like the word balance better.
Okay.
I think it's just one of those words that, quite frankly, resonates with me.
All right.
And I use the term self-care more than anything. It's as long as we're doing, and not just one thing, but several things for self-care, then therefore some level of balance should be felt. So for self-care, to me, that is everything from eating healthy, maybe 80% of the time, like that 80-20 follow. Certainly, one to recommend drinking lots of water, keeping alcohol and caffeine low, working towards, if not already achieving 7+ hours of sleep every night. Certainly with my fitness background, I'm going to be recommending exercise.
Yeah, of course.
But beyond exercise, just as much as I like to speak about exercise, I like to speak about stretching, because a lot of us do far too much sitting and have such sedentary lifestyles that stretching alone would make such a difference as not just something we physically need, but as stress relief and how we'll feel better physically and mentally afterwards. So yeah, different types of techniques for stress management. So if somebody also likes meditation, for example, yoga, that sort of thing, I certainly recommend any and all of that, and I absolutely practice what I preach and do all of that.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So we touched on this a bit earlier, a little bit, so I'm going to go a bit more into it. Your kids pretty much being born into your being quite entrepreneurial. What influence do you think, if any, that has had on them?
Great question. And first of all, I'm going to start answering this by saying I love my kids. I have such amazing young adults.
Yes, lovely. And it's okay to say that. Good for you.
Thank you. Because they have been, like you said, raised this way by me, and we have such excellent communication, even from before I became a communications coach. But they've actually gone through my program, the communications program as well. So they've always been a part of whatever I'm doing. I always kept them very informed as to not only what I am doing, but why I am doing it. There was a time, especially maybe one or 2 years ago, when my daughter, as a teenager, was teasing me about how many pictures I was putting of myself or what I was doing in business on social media, especially Facebook. And I joked with her and I said, "That's what's putting you through university."
Yeah.
I said, "That's mom's paycheck. Mom's, very well established because of Facebook more than anything, more than any other social media."
Okay.
Because they always knew what I was doing, why I was doing it. And the bottom line is, again, as much as I absolutely love what I do, it's still also income. It's also what I choose to do for income, in which case I'm still helping support them. Neither of them are 100% financially to be on their own. They're getting close. They're both getting quite close. But, that's all the more reason for me to keep them informed. And they also know what I'm doing at all times. So my son, for example, texted me Saturday while I was at my speaking event, and it was just on lunch break, and that's why I looked at my phone, and he said, "Hi, Mom, how are you? What are you doing?" And I texted back, "Just got off the stage, can't talk." XOXO. And then after I got home, I'm like, "Okay, did you need me, or were you just saying hi?" I kind of teased them, going, "Wait a minute, you should have known I was speaking on Saturday." But it's fine. It's still
lovely. I think it's great that from throughout, you've allowed them to see and know that connection between what you do and how it supports them in a myriad ways. It's brilliant.
Thank you. I actually call them my two biggest cheerleaders because they love hearing everything that I'm doing. They love celebrating successes with me, or anytime, like even when I mentioned that you were interviewing me, I let them know. I said, guess what? I got asked to be interviewed again. They celebrate these things with me. They're excited for me. So that's fantastic.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Love that. Love that. All right. So what would you say, Jane, have been the number one habit, the number one strategy, and the number one insider secret to you doing as well as you have done, as brilliantly as you've done in business? So achieving that level of success and sustaining it. You want to start with the habit.
Well, the habit would be the consistency. Again, working past procrastination and just knowing that whatever has to be done has to be done. It's as simple as that. And then not pushing anything off for the next day. And just, scheduling it and making sure that it happens, because that's a habit, that has to be an established habit for somebody to be very successful, at least. Right? Any partial habit is still going to accelerate somebody, but the more clear somebody is as to why they're doing it and are consistent and by their calendar, I believe they'll just accelerate that much faster. Great.
No, so that's a great one. The consistency that actually came up on a couple occasions with the experts we've had, and another Canadian was Ruth also mentioned that consistency piece, and I agree. It is a habit, and I was listening to, it would have been Craig Valentine's The Perfect Day Formula recently, and he talks about the importance of consistency and habits that or actions that are practiced frequently, they get wired in, they become wired in and make it easier for us to continue with those practices every single day. And the same is true for habits that aren't as wholesome. The more we do them, the more they become hardwired as well. So it's what you practice. And yes. Lovely. Love that. So your number one strategy, what would that be?
Strategy. One of the topics I speak about is the fact that every entrepreneur needs to be the visionary as well as the manager as well as the implementer. So knowing that as a mompreneur and generally as a solopreneur, we are all three of those, but knowing that which is our biggest strength, and or kind of in order, I don't like saying weakness as much, but just because that sounds so negative, but obviously the one that you're weakest of the three, in which case knowing when to hire and or delegate, or at least how to strategically, work out your day, your week, your month, as well as your quarter and your year business planning. Because those are very different roles, and you need to be all three.
Yeah. Sorry, so they were the visionary, being a visionary, being an implementer.
The manager and the implementer.
Manager, yes, there we go, the third one. Yeah, and three very different roles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, three very different roles. Lovely. And your number one insider secret?
Oh, I'm going to have to say ask for the sale.
No beating around the bush there, straight.
That's right. To this day, supposedly 90-something% of entrepreneurs do not ask for the sale. So hopefully in any sales process, in any conversation, they're building rapport. Hopefully they're not saying too much, that they're not going through so much that they want to share, but that they're just looking to how to fill the need of the person that they're speaking to help them make an ethical decision. But then completing that transaction or that process by then asking for the sale. So whether it's would you like one, or would you like to move forward, or how can we move forward next? Would you like to book an appointment? Whatever the next question is, is to actually ask that question. Because not only to me is that clearly just the next step, you wouldn't just stop talking and wait for the person to say, okay, yes, how do I buy it? You know, or what do I do next? Why put the onus on them? You're the one selling, you're the one leading the conversation. I go as far as to say that that's honoring the person. Is continue the conversation honorably and ethically, and just ask. Because if you are filling their need and they are interested and they're getting to a point that they're convinced, and this is what you do for business, and they know that's what you do for business, there's nothing wrong with asking for that sale. And it's not salesy. You're just helping them make that ethical decision.
Yeah. And I get where you're coming from and what you say. Yet it's such a difficult piece for so many of us women. I think, you know, not to go down the male-female divide, but I really do believe it's harder for us women to do that. Have you any thoughts around why that might be?
I think we're trying far too hard to please everybody, and then people don't want to say no, or women don't want to say no, or aren't as comfortable saying no, and therefore aren't as comfortable hearing no. But again, that's still part of the sales process. So, you know, more people are going to say no to what we have to offer. Just like if we were listening to 20 people's offers, we're not going to say yes to all of them either, in which case we need to learn how to say, no, thank you. This isn't right for me right now. Maybe I can refer somebody in the future, but thank you, but no. You know, and the more we practice saying no, the better we also get at hearing no.
Yeah. I do like what you said there about, you know, honoring the sale and honoring the person by continuing into that natural progression, really, of asking for the sale. Why bring them so close, you know, almost quite not in an unethical way, quite enticing, really whet their appetite, and then not proceed beyond that. It can serve them, you know. So there is that ethical piece that you mentioned. I think a lot of us women, in amongst all, you know, the money hang-ups and money story and all that, those other cobwebs, there is that piece about, you know, oh, it's pushy, you know, are we seen as too pushy, it's too salesy, it's slimy, and all the other host of words we have for that.
But if you're doing something, if you label it more as transformational,
there we go,
versus transactional. If you're just trying to close a sale, yes, you're going to probably come off a sale. Right? But if you care about the person and transforming them in some way, then that will come across as well, that you're providing a service and that you're just looking for the right fit. You're looking to see if you are both interested in moving forward together. And then take away the negative connotation of that being salesy and just being, it's a sale. That's it.
Great. Great. So it's reframing it and believing it. It's reframing and believing in that position.
Well, because if everybody is knowing, again, that not everybody is the right customer for us at the right time and okay with hearing no, then it doesn't matter if it's a yes or no, because you should only want to move forward with the right person anyway. That's
right. That's right. Fantastic. I love that. It's a beautiful note on which to end, and a very nice way of reframing, a very, very wholesome way of reframing that whole piece as well. So I've definitely noted it, and I hope that our listeners take note as well. Now that brings us to the end of our interview, Jane, and this is where I'm going to ask you to tell us a bit more about your free gift offer. I think our listeners would quite like this as well.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, on my trainerjanesays.com website, so SAYS.com, there is a lifestyle coaching page, and on that page they can click to get their free gift, which is to then get a 20-minute coaching call with me, so that if they have any questions based on what I said over this interview, then I will happily answer them for them.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I will have that URL. It's there. It's going to be all set up there. So it's quite visible, accessible for our listeners to get in there. Good. And contact you, and 20 minutes of transformation, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think they might have specific questions, in which case I would love to answer those.
Fantastic. Great. Jane, thank you so very, very much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and just really picking your brains,
Yes.
you know, for those juicy nuggets. They've been very powerful, very, very insightful for myself, and I'm sure they will be to many, many of our listeners as well. So thank you, Jane. Thank you to all our listeners. Yes. I really appreciate you and all of you as well being here tonight. So we'll say bye on this one for now. Jane, if you just hang in there for a second before we all go, we'll say bye to everyone. Thank you.